Tonight, violence on Perth streets. One man in hospital, 3 more are accused of a stabbing attack. Ukraine is hit again and again. Missiles strike the European nation in the heaviest bombardment of the war. Lucky to escape unscathed, a Thornley family's home is torn apart by flames. Plus, Basil Zemplis says Perth's Australia Day ceremonies are here to stay as 11 other WA councils defend their change of date. And a West Aussie dark horse is tipped to take the Test cricket opener spot.
This is 9 News Perth with Natalia Cooper.
Good evening. Spilling out onto the streets of Perth, violence in our city's party precinct ahead of one of the busiest nights of the year. A 22-year-old man is recovering in hospital from multiple stab wounds. 3 men are accused of being behind the attack.
A violent brawl in the middle of a busy Northbridge street. The fist fight turned stabbing breaking out just before 3:30 this morning. One man tumbles to the ground, followed by another.
A 22-year-old male person received what we believe are stab wounds to the legs and arm.
Police officers run to help as the 3 suspects flee the scene.
The police response was excellent. Police were on the scene within seconds, arresting 2 of the male suspects.
300 metres away near Yagan Square, a 3rd man tackled to the ground and arrested.
Police have recovered a number of knives that we believe were used in this incident.
It's not clear what sparked the brawl, but police say those involved are known to each other. The victim now stable. This afternoon, 2 25-year-old men and another aged 24 were charged. They'll appear in court tomorrow.
With New Year's celebrations happening across the city tomorrow night, police are warning the public they won't tolerate any violence whatsoever.
If you do come into an entertainment precinct and want to start a fight, or want to bring a weapon or want to be involved in a serious assault, expect to be apprehended by police, expect to be arrested by police and expect to face the full front of the law.
Kelly Jo Williams, 9 News.
30 illegal foreign fishers have been arrested in an operation off our coast. They were found over the past week with more than a tonne of sea cucumber and 600 grams of salt used to preserve it at a Kimberley marine park. Australian Border Force also destroyed 3 fishing vessels as part of the ongoing operation targeting illegal fishing. The death toll on Western Australian roads continues to rise. A 61-year-old woman has died after a Ford Falcon veered off Fairmont Boulevard in Brabham yesterday afternoon. She was rushed to hospital but died a short time later. 6 people have been killed on our roads since Christmas Day, including a 20-year-old motorcyclist on Forest Highway last night. 2 fathers have been identified as the victims of a shocking holiday crash in New South Wales. A number of their children are still in a serious condition in hospital as police try to work out what went so horribly wrong.
David Drozd, his wife Nicole and 5 of his 9 children were on the way to Dubbo to visit their eldest daughter when the family's Kia Carnival collided head-on with a D-Max ute towing a bike trailer on the Great Western Highway near Willerrawang. The 49-year-old father was killed, so too the driver of the D-Max, 43-year-old Jason McMahon from Narellan Vale, who'd spent the day riding trail bikes at Sunny Corner.
Our hearts go out to the families and the communities that those people are part of.
Jason's 19-year-old son, Connor, told 9 News, "I've lost the man I've always wanted to become. He was the sort of person to just drop everything to go help someone. I'm going to miss my dad every minute. He didn't get to see me start a family of my own." 5 vehicles were involved in the crash. 15 people were injured, including Jason's passenger, 19-year-old family friend Declan Jones. 5 children are in hospital in Westmead. 2 of David's daughters are in a serious and critical condition.
And we're calling on the community to actually, particularly in this New Year's period, to stop and think about what they do to prepare on their journey.
The stretch of highway on Mount Lambie is notorious for accidents. A crash involving a truck and sedan killed 2 people in 2021. Another man lost his life after his ute was hit by a truck in 2018. Police are probing all sorts of theories as to why Jason's ute crossed onto the wrong side of the road, including speed, a medical episode, or even a micro-sleep after a long day of riding. David was an experienced traffic safety consultant working throughout Western Sydney. He was due to become a grandfather next year. His family have described him as a devoted Christian and loving father of 9 children, sharing this photo taken on Christmas Day.
Nearly 2 years on from the start of its invasion, Russia has launched its biggest missile bombardment yet. At least 30 people have been killed and more than 160 injured as Ukraine's biggest cities came under attack.
Ukraine under assault. Russian drones and missiles fired at homes and buildings. On the streets, cries of panic. The onslaught striking in the capital, Kyiv, where survivors were pulled from the flames. In Kharkiv, this man was rescued from rubble. Almost 2 years into the war, Russia is sending a message, and Ukrainians are sending one back. This woman cries, standing in the ruins of her own home. Dozens of people were killed, scores more injured in attacks across the country. In Dnipro, this man says, when the shell landed, we sat here in the corner. My wife and child were terrified. In Lviv in the west, the mayor says, we are showing what these non-humans do. Kherson, the port city of Odessa and Zaporizhia, also all targeted. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky went to the front line, thanking soldiers. These are the people who keep Ukraine alive, he says, urging world leaders to respond with help. This Russian military leader wished his troops further successes, and this war has another worrying development. Polish officials say a missile likely from Russia entered its airspace. An attack on Poland, a NATO nation, could trigger a much wider war. And with that in mind, US President Joe Biden warned America could be dragged directly into the conflict as he issued a scathing verbal assault on Vladimir Putin and a plea to Congress to get tens of billions of dollars worth of military aid to Ukraine. When dictators and autocrats are allowed to run roughshod in Europe, consequences reverberate around the world. Putin seeks to obliterate Ukraine. He must be stopped, President Biden said. Tonight, in Kyiv, some shelter underground. Jadwiga tries to keep her daughters smiling. Children are scared too, she says, and there's little sign of a path to peace. In the United States, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
Israel is accusing South Africa of collaborating with Hamas after the country launched a genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. It comes as Hamas says it will consider an Egyptian plan for a ceasefire that would ultimately end the war.
Yahya Sinwar is one of Israel's top targets inside Gaza, and the Israeli military claims it's just destroyed the Hamas leader's hideout. Releasing footage of troops inside tunnels, it says, are part of Hamas general headquarters, as the terror group claims its delegation in Cairo will now consider an Egyptian plan for a ceasefire. South Africa has filed a genocide case against Israel at the UN's top court, something Israel rejects as baseless blood libel, while an Israeli official has admitted Christmas Eve's deadly airstrike on the Maghazi refugee camp, which killed more than 100, was a mistake, stopping short of an apology.
This was a regrettable mistake. This should not have happened. The choice of munition was incorrect.
It's estimated 85% of Gaza's residents have now been forced from their homes. Tents stretching as far as the eye can see around the southern city of Rafah, where an estimated 100,000 people have fled in recent days. That's according to the UN. Denmark says it'll send a warship to join the US-led coalition in the Red Sea, established after increasing attacks by the Houthi rebels of Yemen, whose capital saw huge protests in support of Gaza today. The crowds chanting, "Jihad, Jihad, all the people are ready." In London, Karianne Greenbank, 9 News.
A Thornley family is lucky to have escaped unscathed from a fire that gutted their home of 8 years. The early morning blaze also coming dangerously close to neighbouring properties.
Sirens and smoke waking residents on a Thornley road.
Whoa.
This Hume Road home going up in flames around 2 this morning. Starting in the garage, quickly taking hold, ripping through the whole property.
Just a wall of flames coming up along the boundary fence between the properties.
I walked outside and just saw clouds of smoke going across our house.
Those inside managing to get out unscathed, only enough time to grab a few important documents.
This poor house was on flames and the family was across the road, distraught of course. They just sat there and just watched the house burn down.
Flames so close to this neighbouring home, its upstairs windows cracked.
Jump out of bed, put some clothes on and run out without shoes on, stupid, and got the garden hose and tried to stop our house from burning down.
The blaze, deemed not suspicious, accidentally sparked by hot ashes left in a bin.
With the easterly wind blowing, it just went, and once it got into the roof cavity, it just took off.
The family who own the property have lived here for more than 8 years. Luckily, they're insured, but the home has been completely gutted and will likely be demolished.
I just wish them all the luck, I hope they can get back on their feet, okay.
Amber Wilkinson, 9 News.
Police are investigating a road rage incident in our southern suburbs. CCTV shows this silver ute turning into a driveway and ramming a waiting vehicle in Kwinana. Bonnet crumpled, the car then takes off. Police have spoken to both drivers who are known to each other. The investigation is ongoing. Dozens of councils are tonight defending their unofficial boycott of Australia Day that will see some formalities shifted away from January 26. 11 of them are here in WA, but Perth Lord Mayor Basil Semplis says any change should be up to the federal government.
Becoming Australian on our National Day is a long-standing tradition.
In choosing Australia as their home, these newest citizens are embracing the values and qualities we hold dear.
But it's one many local councils are now choosing to reject.
If we aren't prepared to hold citizenship ceremonies on our National Day, what are we prepared to do on our National Day?
Around 80 councils nationwide are ditching citizenship ceremonies on January 26, the highest number in Victoria and New South Wales.
It is very much about respect, and it is also about working towards reconciliation in whatever small ways we can.
The City of Sydney Council is another, saying January 26 is painful for so many. It's not a day of unity, but of mourning. But not everyone's happy with their council's decision.
What better day to welcome new Australians than on Australia Day?
The surge away from formalities on January 26 comes a year after the Albanese government gave councils a choice in the matter, reversing a 2017 mandate that saw some local governments stripped of hosting rights altogether.
Councils should be required to hold citizenship ceremonies on Australia Day, and that policy is one that we would reintroduce if we were re-elected.
The opposition accusing Labor of moving to change the date by stealth, even though the Prime Minister has consistently backed Australia Day. Eliza Edwards, 9 News.
Ferocious winds, giant hailstones and intense rain have smashed parts of southern Queensland, bringing down trees and power lines. Severe storm warnings are still in place for residents further north, with thousands of households in the dark.
From one end of the coast to the other and across the Darling Downs, Mother Nature unleashing her wrath. Communities still scrambling to recover from wild weather earlier in the week, watching on with dread as another round of storms rolled in. In Tara, balls of ice the size of golf balls smashing homes and cars.
These storms are popping up, they are short notice and they are moving through an area quite quickly.
More than 15,000 homes plunged into darkness from Gympie to Clontarf. Destructive winds and lightning bringing down 65 power lines. More than 36,000 homes now without electricity across the state.
So those storms today could well delay those reconnection timeframes.
Families told they'd have the lights back on for New Year's Eve, now unlikely to be reconnected until Friday.
We're going as fast as we humanly can.
Reinforcements from New South Wales and Victoria deployed to support the recovery efforts as clean-up crews face an uphill battle with more storms and flash flooding forecast.
We do have a flood watch. It has been issued for numerous catchments across central and southeast Queensland, and that will remain in place for the next few days while this thunderstorm activity remains with us.
With more dangerous weather predicted over the coming days, Council offering free sandbags from several locations across Greater Brisbane. Residents urged to prepare their homes now. Hopes of ending the year on a high, clouded with uncertainty. Olivana Lathouris, 9 News.
As wild weather lashes the Sunshine State, WA's north is battling extreme heat. Brittany, Hoskins, temperatures soared to almost 50 degrees.
Natalia, the heat across the Pilbara has been relentless and unfortunately it's unlikely to ease anytime soon. Marble Bar copped the worst of it, reaching a searing top of 49.3 degrees today. Tonight the temperature there will only drop to 30. Tomorrow the town will peak at 47 and the mercury will hover around the mid-40s well into next week.
It's been fairly persistent, which is unusual for this time of the year. By this time, we normally see the monsoon develop across northern WA. The average onset for the monsoon is around late December. Essentially, we need increased cloud cover, more showers and thunderstorms to help cool the atmosphere down.
Back home, we hit our top temperature late in the day, 35.2 degrees just after 3:30. That followed an overnight low of around 18 degrees. We can expect a sunny Sunday for the last day of 2023. Natalia, I'll have that as well as what we can expect for the first week of the new year coming up.
OK, looking forward to it, Britt. Thank you. Isla and Oliver have topped the list of WA's most popular baby names for the 4th year running. More than 220 Olivers and 166 Islas were registered with the birth, deaths and marriages in 2023. Olivia and Noah coming in at 2nd, Mia and Leo 3rd. US officials under siege here in Australia. Next, protesters storm the American consulate in Melbourne. A mother and son are killed skiing in France. And a US city in lockdown after a toxic explosion. Pro-Palestinian activists have attacked the US consulate in Melbourne, smashing glass doors and spraying it with graffiti. It's believed they are the same group that gatecrashed carols by candlelight and disrupted Boxing Day shoppers.
The exterior of the US Consulate General building in Melbourne is defaced. The attack then escalates with hooded pro-Palestine activists smashing the glass facade. The curated video, shot by the protesters themselves, was uploaded to social media last night. Federal and Victoria Police are investigating the criminal damage, which has drawn condemnation from the chair of the Anti-Defamation Commission.
I trust that law enforcement will identify these perpetrators and prosecute them to the full extent of the law, because enough is enough.
It follows the disruption by pro-Palestine activists at carols by candlelight on Christmas Eve. Demonstrators also appeared at the Boxing Day sales at Chadstone Shopping Centre.
I think a lot of people will be asking, when is this tornado of fear and hatred going to end?
A large, loud but otherwise peaceful rally was held in the city this afternoon. The state government released a statement saying, in part, Victoria stands together with all our communities against hate speech and violent extremism, including anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. The opposition says,
ultimately, people have the right to protest and demonstrate about issues that matter most to them, but that needs to be peacefully.
The US consulate worked quickly to clean up the damage, with the broken windows already boarded up and the graffiti gone by this morning. Attention now turns to if, where and when the protesters will show up next.
I never thought I would say this, but the community is living in fear.
Emily Rice, 9 News.
A woman and her adult son have been killed by an avalanche in the French Alps. The pair was skiing with other family members outside the designated slopes when the 400-metre wide avalanche was set off by skiers higher up the mountain. 5 people, including the woman's husband, survived. Gucci's Christmas tree in Milan was supposed to spread a message of joy and beauty, but climate protesters have sent a message of their own, vandalising it, throwing buckets of orange paint. The demonstrators said they targeted the installation because it was a symbol of a lifestyle that is totally unsustainable. Rubble and toxic fumes are all that's left after a disastrous chemical explosion in the US. Homes have been evacuated and parts of the city of Bridgeport in Connecticut are in lockdown.
A blast in the heart of the US city of Bridgeport.
El diablo, qué fuego!
Smoke towering over the streets after an explosion tore through a plant that processes hazardous waste.
Something just happened. Something just blew up.
What happened was this.
There was a delivery of oxidizer to the property, and it appears that the driver of the vehicle opened up a valve and there was an explosion, and which triggered a couple of other small explosions.
Oxidizer is a type of chemical that causes fuel to burn, a dangerous workplace accident that triggered a huge response from emergency services. 3 people were injured and taken to hospital, 1 treated for burns, the others smoke inhalation.
It was a loud explosion heard blocks away, which was scary and unsettling for so many people.
Bridgeport is home to around 150,000 people. Those close to the blast were told to evacuate their houses or stay indoors with their windows closed. Authorities concerned about the possibility of toxic fumes. But relieved nobody was killed when the plant went up. Amber Canine, 9 News.
Enhancing a global icon, new laws protecting the Great Barrier Reef come into effect, but some say the move will cost livelihoods. The chips so spicy, unions say factory workers can't stand the heat. And sending in the big guns, one disgruntled customer takes his anger to a store's front door. It's a ban aimed at protecting our Great Barrier Reef, but fishing families say it will cost them their livelihoods. The use of gill nets is being outlawed, even for those who don't fish anywhere near the reef.
In the muddy creeks of North Queensland lives the restaurant staple barramundi, and among these mangroves and mosquitoes, fishing families like the Greens make a living.
Sustainability is the future. If we haven't got it, we ain't got a future.
Neil and his daughter Sienna are 2nd and 3rd generation fishers whose work is about to be outlawed.
They clearly view us as disposable, just like a piece of rubbish.
Their use of vertical diamond mesh gill nets caught up in a government ban that they say shouldn't apply to them. The fight stemming from a UNESCO report on the Great Barrier Reef, which recommends the phasing out of gill net fishing to protect species like dugong and turtles. The federal and Queensland governments responding with a $185 million package to help fishers adjust to a gill net-free reef by 2027. But for some licence holders, the deadline is much sooner, banned from the 31st of December this year.
We don't understand what the urgency is here. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. There'll be substantial price rises, maybe up to 50 to 100%.
They've been promised compensation but told it won't be delivered until after the ban comes into force. Federal Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek says she supports the phasing out of what she calls unsustainable fishing practices, but says the Queensland government is responsible for compensation and consultation with those affected. We sent questions to Queensland Minister Mark Ferner. His department told 9 News threatened, endangered and protected species inhabit inshore environments. The ongoing use of gill nets in some sensitive habitats may not be suitable, and assistance will be provided starting in December.
Don't just shrug your shoulders and say, well, deal done, sorry, can't do anything about it. That's not good enough. That's not what we're paid to do. They've got to revisit this.
Reece D'Alessandro, 9 News.
Chip giant Smiths has been forced to install extra fans at this Adelaide factory. Workers there dealing with seasoning used to make flaming hot Doritos said they had difficulty breathing and were experiencing skin irritation. The United Workers Union says employees at the factory raised significant safety concerns. PepsiCo, which owns Smiths, says it's mandatory to wear a mask during production of that particular chip. A disgruntled customer has brought out the big guns to send a message to a UK building supplies store, parking a tank out the front of one of its branches. Paul Gibbons says his $46,000 kitchen renovation is of poor quality and that he is taking a stand so that the company will redo the work. Team USA has paid a visit to Rottnest Island. The United Cup players, including world number 5 Jessica Pegula and world number 10 Taylor Fritz, all going to some lengths to nab that quokka selfie. Meanwhile, in Sydney, Team Greece, led by Stefanos Tsitsipas, has visited Taronga Zoo, taking photos with koalas and feeding giraffes. Are we too set in our ways? Next, the shopping habits Aussies are refusing to pick up and why it means we'll be missing out. And a tribute to fallen stars, the famous faces we've lost this year. But first, sport with Bonnie Raynor, and a West Aussie is firming to fill David Warner's shoes.
Yes, Natalia, but not the one you'd expect. Selectors revealing their non-traditional plan. Could Bancroft be snubbed? Why Green is set to get the opener's gig. A shaky start for the Aussies as Bolter claims bragging rights in the partnership, and feeling alive, the Tasmanian yacht celebrating its second Tattersalls Cup. WA all-rounder Cameron Green could be the front-runner to replace David Warner, with selectors revealing they're strongly considering a non-traditional opener. And while the Aussies now turn their attention to Sydney, Pakistan is still seething at how the second test ended.
Closing out the year with another gripping victory. The past 12 months are worth savouring for Australia's cricketers.
The success we've had, we're measured by wins and losses and titles, and it's, consider it right up there.
Family time on the cards today after earning the day off, thanks in part to the captain's brilliance.
10 for the Bachelor, Patrick Cummins.
Pat Cummins again turned that game when it looked to be getting a bit tight. His ability to extract movement late in the game, the ability to execute good bounces, just, it's a joy to watch, really.
So too David Warner's career. And with the curtain to fall after Wednesday's SCG test, it's time to find a replacement.
Yeah, I think we can start sort of discussing that, definitely. There's a few options. Everyone's well aware of the options.
There's 4 candidates, but only one spot. Cameron Bancroft's case helped by his brilliant Shield form, while Matt Renshaw and Marcus Harris aren't without merit. But it's all-rounder Cameron Green who looms as the outside chance, despite not being a traditional opener.
I mean, Cameron Green could, as a discussion around who were the best 6 batters, definitely been the conversation.
In the last 30 years, I think there's been 30-odd openers and 50% of them have come from a non-traditional sort of opening background. So, if that's anything to go by, then there is the ability to potentially be able to rejig your order.
So while Australia look to the future, Pakistan is still fuming at the past. Coach Mohammad Hafiz lashing out post-match, particularly incensed by the dismissal of Mohammad Rizwan off his wristband.
Our Pakistan team played better than the other team. I believe inconsistent umpiring, technology curse, really given us the result which should have been different.
The Aussie squad departs for Sydney tomorrow. Braden Ingram, 9 News.
The Scorchers believe the BBL schedule has them primed to push for an historic three-peat. Perth spending 3 full weeks at home, allowing plenty of recovery time for those usually requiring a rest. Ashton Agar particularly excited for Wednesday's clash against the Strikers, coming up against his brother, Wes.
The best part about playing against him is that we're in the same city, so Wes will come straight to my place, stay at mine for a couple of nights, to be honest. I'll drive him into Optus and you'll get to spend time with my son too. So that's great.
Elsewhere, WA veteran Shaun Marsh helping the Renegades secure their first win of the season with a vintage half-century. The 40-year-old smashing 4 sixes to chase Adelaide's target of 178.
3 men out on the leg. And the goes straight down the ground. And that is absolutely gorgeous from Sean Marsh. Not quite so the dive.
The Sixers holding the upper hand in today's Sydney smash, restricting the Thunder to 7 for 151 off their 20 overs. Well, Australia is facing a must-win clash against the USA on Monday after a 2-1 loss to Great Britain on day one of the United Cup. The tennis action continuing across the country today. Rafael Nadal taking to the court with a familiar face ahead of his return from a year-long absence.
As he tends to do, Alex de Minaur fought hard to take his singles clash to a decider.
Oh, and he hits the clean winner up the line. And de Minaur turns this match around for Team Australia.
Cam Norrie was up for the fight himself. The third set going to a tiebreak and Norrie claiming the win. That left Isla Tomljanovic to take on de Minaur's partner, Katie Bolter from Team Great Britain.
Impressive.
The Brit doing it easy in straight sets. The tie decided in 2 matches. Bolter happy with the win, but still feeling a bit guilty.
Honestly, it's super awkward, but yeah, I hope he'll still have me, put it that way.
A doubles dead rubber seeing Australia claim their first win of the tournament. WA pair Matt Ebden and world #1 doubles player Storm Hunter getting a straight sets win over Bolter and Neil Skupski. Ahead of tomorrow's clash with Novak Djokovic and Serbia, China earning a 3-0 win over Czechia. And the Netherlands winning their matchup with Norway 2-1. 2 familiar faces going all out in their preparations for the Brisbane International. Andy Murray and Rafael Nadal looking to show they can still challenge for slams.
It's always very, very intense practices. Yeah, look physically, look good, and I was playing well.
Nadal is the star attraction in Queensland, but it was a wild card stealing the show.
He's an eastern brown. He is the second most venomous snake in the world.
A snake watching qualifying on an outside court, officials suspending play as the local snake catcher aced his job. Joel Saratzis, 9 News.
And Oklahoma City is proving it's a real threat in the NBA this season. The Thunder thrashing defending champions Denver by 26 points away from home. MVP candidate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way again with 40 points.
This is another massive win for the Thunder as SGA will put a cherry on top.
Aussie Josh Giddey chipping in 12 points and 8 rebounds from his 21 minutes. They were 4th across the finish line, but Alive has today been crowned the overall winner of the Sydney to Hobart. The 66-footer edging out the URM group on handicap to take home the Tattersall Cup for the second time in 5 years. Skipper Duncan Hine happy to share the champagne with his crew, but reluctant to be thrown into the Derwent, as is tradition in the Blue Water Classic. Natalia, I don't blame him. I'm sure that would have been a bit chilly.
So cold, poor guy. All right, Bonnie, thank you. Next, a special tribute remembering those who have left us this year. And the shopping trends taking the world by storm that could save you money. And Brittany Hoskins, another sunny day ahead for New Year's Eve.
Perfect weather for anyone planning to be out and about. I'll have tomorrow's forecast plus what's in store for the first week of 2024 coming up.
As you make the most of a week of sales, it's feared we could be falling behind with the future of retail technology. Australia is being compared to the UK, Canada, France and Germany. Research finding we're open to some change, but still love face-to-face customer service.
It's the season for spending. Thousands race into the shops to bag a bargain or searching online to find the best bang for your buck. The way we shop is ever evolving.
You don't want to be waiting for products or anything like that.
Carl Jamo knows all too well how important the customer experience is. Selling high-tech storage boxes for shoes, 90% of his business is online.
It's a fast service. I think it's key, especially online. It has to be quick delivery. 1 to 3 days.
But still, he holds a storefront in Subiaco to build his customer relationships.
And they can actually see the product finished, they can touch and feel the quality.
Does it build that consumer confidence before they do make that final transaction online?
Yeah, it does, for sure. And they get to meet me or the staff.
But as supermarkets and other retailers start adopting fewer cashiers and move forward in the digital era, 72% of Australians are interested in new technology when it comes to the shopping experience, while 60% are concerned it'll mean less face-to-face customer support and presence.
So even though shopping has become digital, the human touch, so customer service and personal interactions, still remain important.
Virtual shopping is on the rise and nearly 3/4 of Aussies are open to the idea. Browsers are able to take advantage of 3D models where they can try out products like these shoes, choose colours and get an idea of what they'll look like.
Buyers want to go from shop to drop in as little time as possible. Anything that cuts how long people spend in stores or on websites is a winner.
One of the most important advantages would be to avoid queues.
But for Carl and his team, nothing is off limits.
Nothing's impossible. If they want them assembled, we'll assemble them. If they want them flat packed, they come flat packed. We've got videos of putting them together.
Emma Griffiths, 9 News.
In 2023, we said goodbye to a passing parade of celebrities, superstars, heroes and villains. We lost some world figures who we will always remember and a few we'd prefer to forget.
It was the year when we lost living legends and others who lived out their final years in shame. Ron Barassi was every bit a living legend.
It's a grand old flag, it's a high-flying flag.
Having amassed 10 premierships as a player and a coach, Barassi was given a public farewell at the ground where he achieved so much of that glory.
Up there, Casading, and Barassi too, we love you, number 31. We'll never forget you.
If the MCG was Barassi's stage, the world was Barry Humphries.
They've found me a better seat.
Be it Dame Edna, Celez or Barry himself, Humphries was sheer entertainment, a rare talent that we already miss.
You may not know this expression, but I am going commando tonight.
Sir Michael Parkinson passed away this year at the age of 88. Parky is universally regarded as the consummate interviewer, a relaxed style that would immediately relax his guests.
I'm not going to argue with you. You're not as dumb as you look.
2023 was also the year when some of the most beloved voices fell silent.
Yes, the good life, to be free and explore the unknown. Just like the heartache, when you learn you must face life alone.
Many of those musicians who passed away were simply the best, including Tina Turner herself.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I've ever met.
The AFL community lost not only Ronald Dale, but also Ted Hopkins, Barassi's secret weapon in the Blues' famous grand final win of 1970. We also lost Kevin Cowboy Neal, Matt Rendell, Craig Stewart, South Australian power broker Jeff Motley, and famed administrator Ron Joseph. Sport aside, we lost a friend.
Ross, I'll give you $50 for your underpants. Hey.
The world was shocked when news broke that Matthew Perry was found dead in his backyard spa. The troubled star was just 54.
I'm going to hug you. You hug me. All right.
Sadly, the small screen and the silver screen lost many of its stars who'd entertained us for generations. Raquel Welch,
W-O-M-A-N.
Gina Lollobrigida,
Someday I'll say goodbye and you won't hear that either.
and Ryan O'Neill.
Did you happen to know that I love you?
Yeah.
The talented Harry Belafonte also.
Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand. All my days I will sing in praise of your forest. What is your shining sun?
Only a few weeks ago, Henry Kissinger died, the final chapter in an extraordinary 100 years. He was admired globally for his diplomatic skills. But while Kissinger strived for peace, Jerry Springer built an empire on conflict.
What does he say about her?
She just doesn't please him like I can.
Back in January of this year, the king was reunited with his princess. Lisa Marie Presley was found dead. The daughter of Elvis was only 55. Back home, one of the most respected leaders in the Indigenous community passed away, Yunupingu. Throughout his public life, he fought passionately for land rights. Cal Wilson was one of our most popular comedians. She succumbed to a rare form of cancer at only 53. Tears too for a man with a heart of gold.
We happen to put the poor first. See, that's one thing headquarters probably has got a grievance about.
Father Bob Maguire dedicated his life to fighting for the underdog, at times putting him at odds with the church. He passed away aged 88 with no regrets. Controversial church figure George Pell was 81 when he died in Rome after being released from jail, where he served 404 days on child abuse charges. The High Court in 2020 overturning those charges. Despite the acquittal, Pell's reputation was irreparably damaged. On April 30 of this year, it was revealed that TV chef Jock Zonfrillo had been found dead. It prompted an outpouring of emotion from those who'd worked with him and those who simply admired him.
Welcome to the MasterChef kitchen!
Franco Cozzo was a Melbourne institution, a Footscray institution.
Where? In Brunswick and Footscray. Franco Cozzo.
From Italian immigrant to furniture king, Franco Cozzo's story was one of sheer success.
Grand style, grand style, grand style.
Renee Geyer was the soulstress of Australian music, and her music said it all. Federal Parliament was as one in paying tribute to its own. Senator Jim Molan, former Labor leader Simon Crean, and Peter Murphy, who'd waged a long battle with breast cancer. She was just 50. Longtime Victorian Minister Tom Roper also passed away, as did former Queensland Premier Micah Hearn. Overseas, the Sisterhood of First Ladies came together to farewell Rosalind Carter, the wife of former President Jimmy Carter. Former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi was among the political obituaries. The colourful media tycoon had held office for 9 years. And the music world raised a glass to Jimmy Buffett. Rolf Harris's life was a celebrated one for much of his 93 years, but in 2014 he was sent to jail after being found guilty of indecently assaulting 4 females. Their ages ranged from 8 to 19.
He would have thought he was going to get a ticker tape parade when he died. He was the biggest fall from grace that we have ever seen in this generation.
The disgraced entertainer would die 6 years after his release from prison of throat cancer. In contrast, the musical genius that was Burt Bacharach was adored to the end. His works, through artists like Dionne Warwick, were music to the ears of the world. His message, all too often, falling on deaf ears.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone.
Tony Jones, 9 News.
Stay with us. Brittany Hoskins is back with all your weather for New Year's Eve right after this break.
Welcome back. A warm day across Perth as we near the end of the first month of summer. We hit a top of 35.2 degrees just after 3:30 this afternoon. Our overnight low around 18, and right now it's hovering around 31 degrees. To the satellite, a broad trough will persist over inland Kimberley and Pilbara, causing sweltering conditions to continue. Melbourne, on the other hand, hasn't seen a day above 30 for more than 2 weeks. 21 the top there tomorrow. Sydney partly cloudy and 24. and showers for Brisbane 31, while Adelaide can look forward to finishing off the year with a sunny day. Back home, a heatwave warning remains in place for parts of our north, and after sweltering through its equal highest temperature on record today, Marble Bar will head for another hot top of 48 after an overnight low of only 30 degrees. Looking south, Geraldton partly cloudy and 29 degrees, sunny for Bunbury 31. Quick check of the coastal, southeasterly 15 to 20 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 metres. Around the suburbs for the final day of the year, and it's sunny skies all around. 29 for Joondalup and Fremantle, Swanbourne becoming windy, also 29, 30 for Rockingham and Mandurah. A beautiful day ahead for those in the city as well, where it will dip to a low of 19 before reaching a top of 31 degrees. Perfect day for those planning to spend it out and about, or if you're hoping to catch a fireworks display. Looking ahead to 2024, the first day of the new year, sunny and 29, partly cloudy, and 32 on Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday, 33. It will heat up again on Friday, 34, and Saturday, a sunny 35 degrees expected. Natalia, it's hard to believe we're closing out the year, but what a better way to finish than under a sunny sky.
Absolutely. Totally agree there, Britt. Thank you. And that is Nine's News this Saturday. Thank you for your company. Enjoy the rest of your evening. From us, it's good night.